There is a moment in almost every coaching business where thinking stops helping. Until that point, thinking can feel productive. You're reflecting, you're writing notes about your niche, you're thinking about your offer. Maybe you're writing social posts, listening to podcasts, reading books. All of that can be useful for a while when you're in that initial learning curve. But eventually, something interesting starts to happen. The thinking stops creating clarity and instead it sends you into a spin. It starts creating hesitation. And the strange thing is that the longer you stay there, the harder it becomes to move. And you just begin circling the same questions again and again. And at some point, you just need to make a decision. So for you, that might be something like, should I focus on selling to individuals or organizations? Is this definitely the right niche? Does this feel good to me? Is my offer right? How about my pricing? Should I change direction again? And suddenly months can turn into years in that space of not moving forward. And I find it really interesting that we forget that there is no such thing as standing still. You are either on the downward slope, drifting further away from where you want to be, or you are on that 1% better everyday incline to get to where you want to get to. And the problem with being stuck in your head that no one seems to realize is that you just don't stand still. You lose so much confidence, you lose money, and then people often contact me going, I'm desperate to build my business. I've got 1 month left of needing to have all of my previous income. Can you guarantee me that I will get my previous month's salary within 1 month? And that up till that point, they may have spent an entire year faffing around, not earning money. And I certainly don't want that pressure in my business. And I bet you don't either. So at some point, that clarity stops coming from thinking and starts coming from making a decision. Welcome to Women in the Coaching Arena. If you are listening on the podcast, welcome. I'm moved to YouTube recently, so if you are watching on YouTube, welcome as well. I am Jo Lott, a business mentor and ICF accredited coach. And over the past few years, I have helped hundreds of qualified coaches to build their businesses around their life and bring in those clients. One of the patterns that I see again and again is this. The coaches who move forward are not the ones who have the most perfect plan. In fact, it's usually those that aren't the perfectionists that make much more progress. They are the ones who make decisions and don't feel like everything needs to be perfect. And then they make that decision and then they actually start moving. I see so many coaches that are super capable, circling often. Everybody I work with are super intelligent, reflective, amazing, thoughtful people. Yet that can sometimes keep you into that spin of feeling like there is one perfect answer. And for me, certainly the move to entrepreneurship and having my own business has taught me that there is no one right answer. And in the workplace, especially when I used to work with lots of rules and regulations, there was always a right and a wrong. And the best thing about building your business is that you get to create your own way and your own path, and you build that trust in the process. Because your business will grow through those tiny, tiny decisions that you are brave enough to make and not staying circling again and again. This matters even more if, like me, you want your business to support your life. For example, my business is school hours, term time only. I get to do the school run every day, take all of the holidays off. And that didn't happen by accident. It happened because I consciously decided that that was the type of work I needed to create. So how about for you? What do you really want? And what is a decision that you've maybe put off up until this moment that is circling in your head? And how can you make that decision today? If you are beating yourself up that you are going round in circles, don't think you are alone in this. I have spent many, many hours in that place too. And I kept thinking, if I just think about it for long enough, somehow that perfect answer would appear, the perfect niche, the perfect offer. And it's just worth knowing that there is no such thing. And all of those things will grow with you as you grow your business. And you only get that clarity after you start, definitely not before. Something surprising happens once you start moving, and the very thing that you were waiting to feel certain about begins to start to reveal itself. So they always say that you can't see the top of the staircase until you have taken that first step, and I totally agree. One of the biggest shifts I see in my clients is when they realize this and start to become less attached to everything needing to be perfect, to not having a guarantee that their niche will work, to not having to feel like it has to be the perfect offer and it's the one opportunity you've got. You don't need that flawless marketing plan. You don't need a month's worth of social content scheduled before you put that one post out. You just need to make a decision about the direction you are heading in and that you are willing to experiment with. And all businesses are built through that iteration. There is no such thing as perfect thinking. If you think about Amazon, that literally started from books on Kindles. I mean, it's insane how they took that first step, perfected that, and then grew from there. So just like you can grow from exactly where you are in this moment. Something else also happens when you start to finally decide. Your energy changes. You stop circling decisions and being in that constant doubt where you're half in, half out, where you're not really sure if you want to go all in on your business, because if you go all in, then you might actually fail or succeed. So unless you take that risk, then you will never know if you can build the business of your dreams like I have managed to do right now through taking that tiny risk of deciding to go into executive coaching, realized that I actually hated executive coaching. And what I really wanted to do was help people change career. Then realizing I absolutely love business building because, in my opinion, I have no idea how you're else meant to do it when your kids start school. Like, how do you drop them off, get to and from London with all of the panic that the trains are cancelled? How do you get all of the holidays? So for me, my next step after executive coaching, career coaching was business coaching because I absolutely love building businesses. So I've seen this many times with my clients too. Sometimes someone spends months trying to perfect their perfect positioning, and eventually they just decide this is the initial direction that I'm going in. And suddenly your business starts moving. And not because that decision was magically perfect, but because the momentum finally begins. It only begins once you start. There's also something else worth talking about here, that deciding doesn't mean you are deciding forever. So just for today, not for forever. Make that decision on your niche, your offer. Everything can change. You can make another decision in the future and make those changes just as I have done. The path is just never straightforward, and you have to be prepared to go on that swirly path to find your own personal route to success. Sometimes coaches worry that choosing a direction means closing other doors. One of my clients once joked that she really, really didn't want to close the door to all of the imaginary people that were queuing up at it to work with her. And it's really, really true. If there aren't people queuing up to work with you, then it may feel like niching down will stop all of these people queuing up, but it's actually the opposite. Whereas if you speak to that one individual person with radical empathy, they will come your way versus trying to speak to everyone and usually, therefore, speaking to no one. When your work becomes clearer and your decision making becomes clearer, everything you want will come, whether that's the hours that you want to work, whether that's the type of clients that you want to work, the type of pricing. You will find your way through being brave enough to make those decisions. Sometimes the biggest progress will come from a single decision that you have been postponing, and that will free up so much energy to continue and do all of the marketing and amazing things that you want to do in your business. Take a moment now to think about what decision you have been postponing. Often that decision will be the doorway to the momentum and release of energy that you really need in this moment. Most coaching businesses are not built by people who feel completely ready. I have worked with tons of successful people now through my own clients and in masterminds that I am part of, and everybody is just finding their way as they go. So don't feel like everyone else has this sussed. They really don't. They are just the same as you, making those decisions, not knowing if it's the right decision, but being brave enough to make them anyway. If you are a coach building your business and you would like to grab a checklist I've created for you on 12 ways to get paying coaching clients, then you can grab that in the show notes or in the description below and start implementing today. I find the Pomodoro technique really helps. So set that timer for 15 minutes, choose one of those 12 ways and actually do it right away. I hope you loved today's episode. And like I always say, trust yourself, believe in yourself, and be the wise gardener who keeps on watering the seeds.